excited again to be joined by Ulriki, our friend from Church Reality Check. And as always, we're going to be reacting to a video together. And I think it's important for us as Christians to work together because if you look in the social media space, you'll see that a lot of the people who are against Christianity, they know each other, they work together, they support each other. So we do believe that it's important for all of us to work together because we have one Lord, we have one common cause, and it's important that we pull our resources together and work together. Ricky, how are you
Amen.
doing,
Amen.
sir?
It's all good, man. On this particular one, we're going to be doing two particular segments of the same interview. So on this one, we're going to be dealing with the subject matter of heaven and hell. And on the second one, we're then going to deal with the message as a whole.
Absolutely. So we're going to be reacting to a video here from what they call the cosmological argument. It's on a YouTube channel from Dr. Victor Tuwani Pume. I think that's the name. So he's a very prominent person in the media space, and he's getting a lot of people to think critically. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And he's challenging a lot of pastors. I don't know what your take is on some of the stuff that he does.
Yeah, we need people to realize the brutal truth. Brutal truth just means that some people are in a bubble of what they think Christianity is, but they can't really answer what they say they believe. And so you might disagree with him and say it's a little bit harsh on Christians, but the questions he asks, the way he navigates between what a person says and what they should be able to answer for, I think it's very necessary.
And the Bible does require us to always be ready to give an answer. And this is why we do what we do. We want to equip the body to always be ready to give a Christian defense and really exalt Jesus to people who are questioning. So let's play this video.
I think they submit to God. Njengoba sithi omkhulu kunomkhulu bethu. We follow our ancestors, then our ancestors baya kuye bona straight.
Okay.
That created
heaven.
Everything.
Let's talk about heaven. Do you believe in heaven?
No, I don't.
There's no heaven.
No, I don't believe on this.
There's no heaven. There's no
There's
hell.
no hell.
There's no devil.
Because I'm asking myself a question. If he can't deal with the devil. He's killing us. We are going in hell. All those things. But we only have one enemy. We believe that he can heal us, but we don't believe that he can destroy the devil. I don't believe on that.
So do you believe in the Bible?
Like any other books. It's just a book.
It's just a book.
I don't believe that
Who
it's a
wrote the
word of
Bible?
God. I think that people, some they saying they were inspired by God. Some of them, I think it's a propaganda. They are controlling our mind. I don't think it's a word of God because there is no book that is say it's God himself. It's only Paul. We can't trace them. Paul, Peter, we can't trace them. David, we can't trace them. We don't have.
What about the 10 Commandments?
I think it's a main ideology. I think it's more like ideology. Like in Abakhet, I've got some things that I implemented them as Magejageja in my church. But I can't say Nkulunkulu said I must implement this. No, it's my way of living.
But 10 Commandments, when you look at the 10 Commandments, you agree with them. You don't kill. Do you kill?
Yeah, no, I agree with
you. Agree with the 10 Commandments?
Yeah, but some of them, I think 9 or 8, like other ones say, ungafis, ubani ungafis. Because as I'm sitting here to talk, ngibona izinto eziningi engizithandayo. Even you, even the way you think. The reason why you are wearing this expensive watch is because you saw it somewhere. So that's why I don't believe in 10 commandments. I think some of them are working, they exist. Some of them is just a theory.
He's got an issue with the idea of there being a hell, and then goes on to talk about the devil. Why doesn't God just kill the devil and everything is going to be fine? But what I find very interesting is that people never have a problem to say that there is jail. So if you break the law here in South Africa, it's okay for somebody who comes into your house, must go to jail. It's okay for somebody, let's say, who goes to university and fails. And if they keep failing, the university says, right, you're out.
Yeah.
But God is the only person that people don't want to say, he must say there's a consequence to whatever we do here on earth. But leadership, how does this affect the way that we live our lives here? If there is no eternal consequence, if there's no judgment, there's no judge, what does that say to somebody, who's trying to live their lives here if there is no actual accountability from God?
The brothers in Genesis after
Yeah.
actually are a perfect example of you, because your question highlights what is the consequences if we don't see an ideal world where a person is held accountable for their deeds. The brothers then come. The parents were dodging responsibility. The kids now come here. He kills his brother, and when God comes and asks him, he says, "Am I my brother's keeper?"
Yeah. Just want to be held accountable.
Yeah, and so that's what it's that fear, and also leadership. When he is actually kicked out of God's presence, he then has fear of what consequences he will meet in the road.
Absolutely, yeah.
To a point where God has to say, "No one must touch him."
Someone once said leadership that somebody, let's just say for an example, like Nelson Mandela. And someone like King Leopold, who killed millions of people. If there's no heaven or hell, those two people are in the same place. And if those two people are in the same place, then why does it matter how I live my life? I mean, I can be just whatever, a murderer. I'm going to get away with it. I'm just going to become an ancestor.
Yeah.
Afterlife, and that's it. There's actually no consequence. So that idea of hell is actually, for me, it's speaking to the justice of God, that God is fair. He's a God that, even if our laws here, you can evade laws, you can do evil things and get away with it here. But we're saying is, one way or the other, all of us will have to give an account for the life that we lived here. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what heaven and hell represents. It's a perfect representation of what it represents. Let's go back into the New Testament again. Remember that thing that I mentioned earlier on. Fear is a marker that we are aware. Humankind, God has embedded it into us, that we are aware of consequence. Dodging it, you can dodge. But this one, you will bear witness of it.
Yeah.
Lazarus and the rich man. Lazarus goes over. We don't hear of any wars that's happening in his head. We don't hear of what state of mind Lazarus is in. We only hear the account of who Lazarus is from Father Abraham. Why? A person who's born again, who is a believer, because he grabs on to the consequences of what it would mean for me to die without Jesus. My account is the one that they give me. My account is given for me.
Absolutely.
I am not going there to give. But look at the rich man. What does the rich man do, leadership?
Well, the rich man basically lived a terrible life here. And then when he's that side, now he wants to come this way.
He wants to come back and redo things. He wants to correct. What is this correction that he wanted to do that he could not do? It's because he lived outside of the reality of the consequence. So now fear grips him, and he feels like through that fear, it would represent a perfect decision that he should have taken when he was alive. Now, this comes to Magejageja's problem with the laws here, because when he's asked about the 10 Commandments, he says, no, it's just men's ideas. What about heaven, the whole aspect of hell? No, it's just men's ideas. All these things that we are going to hell, he can't just deal with one Satan. So Magejageja has a solution for God to deal with the devil, but Magejageja does not want to deal with God's solution for relationship with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's why when you ask him, he says, no, yeah, he believes in God, but the ancestors are the main. He's got a problem with God.
He has a problem with God. And so he has not only does that's a very good point. He has a problem with God. He has a problem with God's solutions. God says, I'm sending Jesus. And in Hebrews, he says, in past times, he spoke through other means, but by now he speaks through his son. Magejageja has a problem with us speaking through, with God speaking through his son. He wants to speak to the other mediators, which are his ancestors.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So a lot of times when people are rejecting an answer that is given, it's because they have an alternative that does not result to the first one that was given.
Absolutely.
That's it.
No, that's it. And, I think that it's important that people understand that we live in a world that has a law, right? We also live in a world where you will face a judge that will send you to jail if you break the laws. And so why should it be different with God? God has those 10 commandments as his laws, his moral laws that demonstrate the standards that God has set. If a country has standards, then God also can have standards.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're going to stand before a judge that says you're guilty, then, well, what about the one who created everything? You know, if you sin against a human being, you are sinning against him. That's what David said, you know, I've sinned against you alone. Because at the end of the day, we are all created by God. And therefore, whatever you do to another human being, you are doing it to the one who created them. So this, again, we want to take out God from his seat and we want to put ourselves there, you know, and make judgments. So what we're going to do, guys, is this is part 1 of 2 videos. You're going to find the other one in the pinned comment in the comment section. And so just watch them together. But this is part 1. If you want to find the second one, it will be on Church Reality Check. We'll see you guys on the next video.